The Survivalist Path task line. What Jaeger doesn't tell you about himself when you finish the acquaintance task is that he's a massive sadist, and he's going to attempt to make your life completely miserable in Escape from Tarkov from this day forward. The Survivalist Path Unprotected but Dangerous task is just the tip of the iceberg, so buckle up, Buttercup, you've got a lot of pain in the pipe to come from Jaeger. It is my hope that this task guide makes your life a little easier while Jaeger has you in his gimp suit with a gag ball. The task objectives are to kill 5 scavs while not wearing any armor on the woods map. This includes armored rigs as well as body armor, but doesn't cover anything on the head or the face, so you can still wear a helmet if you'd like. It's up to you if you want to attempt this with no armor at all, or wearing armor and dropping it when the opportunity to get a scav kill presents itself. Generally speaking, I don't like the no armor approach, simply because if we go that route, we really shouldn't be running any sort of decent weapon in order to make it as budget as possible. This means you're closer range, and that means the scavs have better aim, so it's far more risky. On top of that, you have other players to worry about who can potentially one-tap you in the thorax if they're using a few ammos which are commonly utilized in the early wipe, like 366 FMJ. If you do choose to do no armor, I would just run the cheapest gun you can get your hands on, don't worry about optics. And if you decide to do armor, then a standard woods loadout is in order. Consider any weapon you can attach one of the 2 level 1 trader optics to. These would be the Gorniste, which utilizes the optic from Jaeger level 1, or any weapon which will take the PSO scope from Prapor level 1. These include AKs and the OPSKS. For a good all-around cheap weapon at this level, I would lean towards the OPSKS if you don't already have something else. The reason for the optic is distance, plain and simple. Scavs are far less likely to hit you at a significant range than they are up close, but we'll go over that more when we start talking engagement strategy. On woods, I'm typically going to recommend a helmet just based on the higher chance for ricochet based on the various angles you're likely to be engaged from when compared to a much smaller and shorter range map. You can purchase the Dick Boy helmet from Prapor level 1 as well. And lastly, this is one of the few tasks for which I will actually pack up provision in my secure container. I'll explain why shortly, but the best provision for this is a Rat Cola. It's 1 square, and it provides you with both 20 hydration and energy, and then after you account for the energy replenishment over time, this actually gives you just under 30 energy and 20 hydration. Typically you can pick this up on the flea market for only slightly more than it vendors for, which is right around 20k. If you don't have access to the flea market yet, obviously you're going to have to find an alternative, but we do want to bring something into raid because we are going to be staying late if necessary. So by this point you're probably already fairly familiar with where to find scavs on the woods map, but here's a map of all the scav spawn points. It's going to be fairly easy regardless of where you spawn to get 5 kills as long as we stay on the map long enough for the second wave of scavs to spawn. If you didn't know, each map has 2 waves of scav spawns, one at the beginning of a raid and then the second wave, which varies per map, but it's typically between 10 to 15 minutes into the raid. Where these second wave spawns can be kind of varies from wipe to wipe, but it is possible they spawn at any of the original scav spawn locations in most circumstances. Your goal is essentially to hit as many of these spawn areas for the first wave as you can, and then delay your departure until after the second wave spawns, unless you somehow kill enough in the first wave. With the second wave, player scavs will also spawn in, but you're going to be facing less PMCs because they've died or left, so it's generally safer to traverse the map when it's this late in the raid. This is also where the Rat Cola comes in. Should you get unlucky and be unable to find any provisions, you can use this to buy yourself a little extra time to plan an extract or to continue pushing POIs and getting those scav kills. When engaging scavs, you want to do so from the maximum distance that whatever angle you're approaching from will allow. We mentioned this earlier, but the scav aim is not great at distances over 100 meters. They can still hit you, but you're far safer at significant distances than you are up close to them. There are of course exceptions to this rule, and not all scav AI are the same, but for the most part, the further away you are, the safer you are. The longer you allow them to shoot at you as well, the better the aim becomes. So don't hold a peak for too long if you're not landing your shots, or they might surprise you with a good shot and send you back to the hideout prematurely. There are some areas where distance just isn't always possible, like the scav bunker camp, but most of the areas the scav spawn do have some kind of side you can approach from to maximize the distance between you and the scavs. A good example with this would be using the tree line to the north and and the west of the medical camp to shoot at the scavs in and around it, or the hill to the east of the village which overlooks the main road going in and out. Just look for those sort of opportunities, and you can take your time lining up your shots. You don't have to stress out about getting your armor off and then back on quickly. And speaking of getting your armor off, if you haven't already, you should have a keybind set to discard in your options. Not only does this help with this task specifically, but it also helps you loot far more effectively if and when you kill a PMC, and you need to quickly sort through their gear and dispose of what you don't need. I use this key so much that I have it bound to a side mouse button. Now with that button set, you can just quickly tab to open your inventory, hover over the armor, and then hit the button to discard it rather than right-clicking or dragging the item out of your inventory. And our final tip for the woods map is that you can certainly do this task at night. The visual acuity of scavs are significantly lessened, but there is definitely an issue with navigation becoming more difficult on woods at night, especially if you're a newer player. So I don't usually recommend this unless you're advanced or you've got a few wipes under your belt and you know where you're going, because woods is one of the harder maps to navigate in the dark. Well, with these tips and strategies, you should be able to get the unprotected but dangerous task done in one go, barring any unlucky player encounters. And, Jaeger might be a sadist, but with the right strategy, a little bit of patience, you can turn his torturous tasks into manageable challenges. Stick to the plan, stay safe, and always be ready to adapt to whatever the raid throws your way. I hope you find this guide helpful. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more Tarkov content. Of course, hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your experiences and any additional tips in the comments below. Hope to catch you guys on the next one. Peace.